Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
No,
Choking. I'm choking.
I've been talking this whole time. Jeez.
You've never done that.
What?
Choked as you're talking.
I just couldn't. It didn't come out. That was weird. Try again.
One more time.
Indie Housing Market. Get the latest insights right here.
Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realtor Group and FC Tucker.
And I'm Brian Wignall with the Wignall Group and FC Tucker Carmel.
Yeah, so it's nice to have you on here. You've been, it's interesting. I've been with the Carmel FC Tucker office my entire career. And Shelly, you were, I don't remember where you were at first because you were at a different brokerage, and then I think you were here and then went to a different place, and you've been here ever since, right? I think that's kind of how that played out. Brian has been a part of my life my entire career, and it's been kind of interesting too because we both have created teams over the past couple of years or whatever, and we've kind of like leaned on each other, and to be a team lead is a different thing altogether. All three of us are team leads, and there's just a different dynamic to that. And it's a little lonely. Like, you don't have a lot of people that you get to go talk to about the dynamic of being a team lead. Mm-hmm. For me, when I talk to other agents, I think it's interesting because they're like, what's it like, and should I do this? And my answer is like, it's lonely. I never get to clock out. When I clock out as an agent, I clock in as a CEO because there's so much other stuff I still have to do.
I will just really quickly say that's our next meeting at Northside Mybor is about, is it time? And is it time to be a team leader? Is it
transaction
time to
coordinator?
Get a transaction coordinator, get an assistant. So,
which I just did that, and we get to talk about that.
Yeah, you're going to be talking about that, but yeah, it's a big decision to become a team leader. It's a lot of thought goes into it, and should I, shouldn't I? Why would I? Why wouldn't I? Yeah, so it's.
Well, I think people think there's money there, and like there just isn't. To a certain, like you got to do it.
You just want to help somebody. That's Correct. Why. I mean, the guy that just joined me, Connor, he was talking about joining, and I'm like, are you interested in being on a team? I could just tell it would be great for him to be on my team because I could tell he's going to be good. But we all know when you're new, you just are thrown at the wolves. Mm-hmm. And so for me, being a team leader is just like, I really want to help you get better, faster, right?
It's a weird dynamic, too, because a brokerage is going to make any brokerage, right, regardless of what they are, their model makes more money off of independent agents, right? Mm-hmm. Solo agents. So for a long time, they weren't historically, like, I want to say in favor of, but they didn't promote it the way that I think they do now, because I think that's the trend, because I think being on a team helps lower the failure rate, right? Because I would have benefited massively from being on a team early on.
I think it should be mandatory. At least a one year, like, what is that called? A 1 year apprenticeship of some sort. Yeah, but when I started in 2008, that word doesn't even exist.
What, teams? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
That
I remember. I mean, maybe it's because I wasn't thinking about it, but I just don't remember. And I do remember it becoming a bigger conversation at national conventions. Join a team, do a team. And that was just like kind of new around 2000. I don't know, remember 12 or 14 or something?
There's a lot of different ways to do it, too, and I know the three of us do it in a very similar way where, like, I'm more into fostering and growing, and I'm here to create producing sustainable agents, and not everybody's like that. Some people just want to make money off of other people, or then there's another model where you're just sharing desk fees or whatever it may be. And so I don't want to say, like, any way's right or wrong. I just know, like, what works for me, and I actually love it. It comes with its own independent headaches, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think it makes me sharper because I deal with so much more. I think the reason it would have helped me early on, when I go and speak and talk about real estate, I used to have a small group here that would meet after our office meetings, right? And it's like people who had 2 years or less in the business, and it was like an accountability group, right? And so we would talk to each other, what we had seen that week or what we had learned. We would, more experienced agents would come talk to us and tell us stuff. And like, you don't have enough stories or knowledge, right? And one of the things that I like about us doing this podcast, it's kind of like steal our stories, steal our knowledge. Mm-hmm. That helped me very much early on. And I think a team member gets to have that as a resource more than a solo agent does, because there's so much more going on that they get to be a part of, and knowledge. And I think you just ramp up quicker.
Well, and the synergy too, I love being part of a team. And it's like, I had one of my team members that her goal was to make more her first year on my team than she did. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Than the previous year or two in the office. And she did. And I was more excited about that than what I was doing for the year.
That's your win. That's
a huge win. You got that synergy of seeing people progress. I love that. And as a former Army drill sergeant and as a former trainer, that I just completely get off on being able to train people and seeing them progress and do better, and that's awesome. It's part of being a teacher and a trainer.
One of the things I wanted because we were having some conversations about on Monday at my team meeting about like why I built the team and what it was, and it was originally, I had two things. Like, it was to help others, right, to expand my ability to help others, and then the secondary one was to uplift the lives of friends, specifically financially, right? And so like you have the ability to do that. And as long as I stay rooted within those two things, nothing else matters, because everything else filtered through those two things will work out just fine.
Well, then look what your team just did. You get to go on a nice little guys.
That was one of them, but yeah, we get to do some pretty fun stuff. We really do.
Good team building, literally team building.
Yeah. But it's funny, you're a drill sergeant. My brother was a drill sergeant.
Okay, cool.
He was a drill sergeant at Fort Jackson in South Carolina, and he's retired and all this stuff. But I would say the biggest period of when my brother and I didn't get along was when he was a drill sergeant. Because at the time I'm like a 30-year-old man, and I'm like, hey, like I'm not one of your soldiers. And it's not like he was like rigid, it's not like Full Metal Jacket and like Arlie Ermy where he's like yelling at me or something, but like he just expected he would say something and things go because he said something. I'm like, hey dude, like I'm not a soldier. And I'm curious if you've ever run into that in like in your life where because you're so used to it and you're like, I say things happen because I say things, and like I don't get pushed back, right?
No, you want to hear something interesting? My personality is so completely diametrically opposed to like an army.
So is my brother's,
And so I would have to practice, and my wife thinks it's hysterical, but I would have to practice and stand in the mirror and be intimidating and whip out the knife hand, and that's just so contrary. But the training part is what I love. There was nothing as exciting to me as we're going on a long ruck march, and I'm marching alongside a 17 or 18-year-old kid that's getting ready to fall out, and I can start talking to him. And how old is your dad? 50, drill sergeant. Do you want to go home and tell your dad that you got beat by a drill sergeant that's older than him on a ruck march? Get back in the formation, and just being able to motivate these guys to do things they didn't think they'd normally be able to do.
A lot of it's distraction too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just went to Zion. I literally just got back like Sunday night, and it's interesting you say this because one of the things we talked about, we did a 16-mile hike, and it was like 105 degrees, and like, it was mostly downhill. So you think, there was some uphills in there, but people are kind of like, oh, it's downhill. I'm like downhill's worse actually, because it's like really rough on your toes and like all the stabilization with your knees. And we came out from like Angel's Landing. You go down this like all these switchbacks and you go through this canyon, and like you're just sitting there. At this point, we're at like 15 miles, and we I thought I was going to come out of this little canyon and there was going to be a parking lot. And I came out and I was still 2,000 feet in the air, and I wanted to vomit. Like I was just like, no, like no. Like I have a saying this, I'd be like, no, this is not what's happening right now. And like you like instantly, like it breaks you, like it just instantly breaks you. And then like, but you have to get back up on it, And I know that's weird, but like I think
that's like real estate.
That's what I was going to say. It's like real estate. You can have a horrible shit transaction, and like it doesn't matter because I got more than one going on, and I can't carry it into the next one.
Yeah, more than one client. Yeah.
And we were talking about that. Like the biggest headache I have right now is the emotional maturity of other agents, and it's because of like what we were just talking about. Somebody gets broken, and they carry it into the next transaction and stuff like that. So it's interesting. I wonder if you were ever like coaching other agents on the other side or anything like that.
Oh, all the time. Sometimes I've had a couple situations where I almost wanted to tell the person, move,
Yeah.
take over, because sometimes you have agents that are either focused on winning,
Yep.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Or you got agents that are collaborative. And I tell people this all the time. This is legit. I have a butt head list on my cell phone. If I'm in a really hard transaction, I remember that. But in the same sense, when I'm in a transaction with someone that's completely delightful and very collaborative, I remember that too. And that
It matters.
impact when we get offers on other houses. I love working with collaborative agents because we can always make this a win-win transaction. Who wants it to be a win-lose?
Well, the other thing too is if you're going through a hard situation, let's just say inspection process or anything, it's because of the condition of the house. Neither one of us caused that as an agent, but when you have another agent, we're both going through the same bad situation. It's not like it's worse for you than worse for me, anything. So when people try to just like work it out, like you say, collaborative,
Yeah.
it's like we're trying to help each other get through this hump that we're having and move forward. But when the person comes at you, like you said, that they got to come out from the other side winning,
Take
it's
advantage,
like
yeah.
you just made 4 people lose. You got
Absolutely.
the buyers, the sellers, you and I just lost because you didn't want to just try to figure out how to work this out as a team. Because we are a team from the beginning to the end working through this. And I think what you're saying is, with the agents, that some of them are out there, I don't know what it is, but it seems like it's getting more and more difficult right now to have that. And it's funny because my Connor that just started with me, I was kind of telling him the little things that I saw happening to me as I started that became what I thought now, and I do think now, tell me if you guys see it too, is a standard comment back and forth to each other. The first one is congratulations on your offer to the listing agent, saying that. I mean, just congratulations and stuff like that, or
Look forward to
looking
working with you.
forward to working
Yeah.
with you when you do the purchase agreement. The other one is thank you so much for the great communication. There's just like I've almost come up with 10 of them to write them down because I wanted to teach Connor. Here's the things you say to keep people pumped up in the process and
Yeah.
let them know that you're here and to back them up. Like, congratulations, you just sold your listing. You're looking forward to working with you. Just stuff like that. And honestly, when I don't get that, I'm like, are you new?
Yeah.
Because looking forward to work with you is just like, it's like common. It's like 99% of the time it's always said. But anyway, I don't even know how I got on that. But just being little things like that, just little sayings are so
Well, it's the
helpful.
wins, right? He's talking about like being collaborative and the wins. The problem I think agents have is with this ego, and it's convoluted too because I have a fiduciary responsibility to my seller or my buyer to protect them, but I see a lot of agents doing it without the consent of their clients, right? Because of their perception of their validation. And I think that can get really, really hard. Like,
Yeah.
I've got some stuff with like some sellers, where it's, like, oh, let's do it by like $700. I'm like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Or like, I had one that we were overpriced based off of this situation, and the appraisal came back and it was like $25K low, and like my seller was fine with it because like I had set I was like, we are overpriced. This is not going to appraise when we sell this, and this comes in low, blah, blah, blah. But because I'd had the conversation for like 2 months before, when it came in low, he's like, cool, let's sell it. And I was like, and the other agent's calling me, hey, I got some bad news. And I'm like, I expected this. We'll be okay. And I think it's on the agents to be able to have tough conversations with their sellers and conditions of homes and the conditions of the market. And they're not doing that. They're, like, agents are just not doing that. And then I get the brunt of it when really, I mean, like a lot of this is just factual stuff, right?
That you should have already had a conversation a long time ago because now it's not new in front of us. But now that it's new in front of us and you didn't have that conversation, it is difficult right now.
Because it's an emotional shock, right?
It didn't have to be difficult. But one of what you kind of said in the beginning of your conversation was that this kills me. If I come to you guys and I say, okay, my buyer has a question. He's just really kind of wondering if your buyer or if your seller is going to do X, Y, Z. And they're like, oh, no, he won't do that. And I'm like, did you already ask him?
Yeah.
Like, how could you say that in 0.2 seconds? No, my seller won't do that.
They
I'm like,
take offense in advance for their seller. It's like, does your seller want to sell the house?
Well, and I also
I've
know
done
that when
though.
I've had
But I can tell you I've done it because I'm not in a good headspace.
Yeah.
Like I was in
Right.
the wrong when I did it.
when
I
you,
knew I
you just
was.
think it's a stupid question, but
Yeah.
I've shocked myself so many times when I turn around and ask my seller or my buyer, and they're like, "Yeah, that's fine." I'm like, "Wow," but I never want to speak for them. I mean, I can see where you just assume there's no
Yeah.
way in the world they're going to give their dog with the house. But oh yeah, we really wanted to get rid of that dog. We can't stand it.
Yeah,
Well, they just said
craps
yes.
on the floor.
You know, just
have
stuff
it.
like that. But when agents speak for their clients before, I've learned, even when I think there's no way in the world they're going to say yes, is I will go ask first and then come back to it. But when an agent just goes, no, there's no way, I'm like, there's no way you had time in that 0.6 billionth of a second that you've asked them that question already. So those are the kind of two with communicating back and forth, is not speaking for your client.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did this, but when I was new, because I did have the luxury of like learning from other agents here in this office, I knew more than I should have at the time frame that I did, or with the tenure that I had at the time. And there were agents who looked down upon me because I was new. And I would argue,
What's your buy board number?
yeah, I would argue I got more done for my clients back then, manipulating, egotistical, over-educated, not over-educated, but there was just some arrogance with the difference in like I tripped them up nonstop with them giving me too much information or them thinking that I'm stupid or that I didn't know what I was doing because I could manipulate them. I don't have that luxury anymore. You know, I'm probably the guy who gets taken advantage of, if anything, now these days. But, you know, I just think that all goes to say, like, all of those people, though, they were helping me, and like they were for the most part kind, and I still have good relationships with all those agents. You know, they, you know, because like when you're new, you're just kind of like, oh shucks, you know, I'll ask, you know, or like I didn't know what offer to write, or, you know, and I'm grateful for all of that I was lucky enough to have because of like agents like you who taught me. So
Well, you said something, and people have said this on the podcast before, so you're not the only one. You said you've got your phone. You've noted the people in your phone that were not easy to deal with, and you put a little whatever words you want to put there. So when the offer comes across the table, it's like, oh yeah, oh, let me look them up again. And what's my notes on that agent? The amount of agents out there that keep notes in their phone about past transactions or issues has been brought up on this show a few times, and I do the same thing. And we talked about this in regards to just being treated poorly because I'm a woman.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I've had 2 people reach out to me after that podcast where I was talking about how I know it was because I was a woman, and they said, both of them, and it just kind of makes me sad. They said, thank you for bringing that up because it's happening to me on different occasions. And she said,
That's crazy.
they both said that, and I thought, men, it's 2026. So for the fact that, you know, the people that do listen to this, that I got those comments, is we need to be careful there too.
that don't even make sense. I mean, this industry is more
It's
women
probably
than
60%
men.
women.
No,
isn't it?
Buffini just said 75% women, and the
Wow.
average age is 56
Wow.
of the women. So that is funny. But then I was surprised to have gotten those 2 emails.
Sad.
Yeah. So that even comes into it. Like, don't think you're better in any way.
I want to know how big your list is. My list is small because I'm pretty forgiving and I'll get through stuff. And I'm not saying you guys aren't. I just kind of like whatever.
Some deals are really bad no matter what, and you both probably went off
To
the
get
deep
on
end.
my list, it's pretty bad. I'll tell you that.
You know what's scary?
I have 2.5.
2.5 people. That's
2.5.
I want to know who those 2.5 are.
I'll tell you
I'm
afterwards.
Yeah, let's
I have
check
2.5 because you'll for sure know. Yeah, anyways, but like the
We
funny
might
thing
have
is,
some shared
the
people.
half one is because of just what I've heard. I've never had. I actually had a lovely transaction with, but I'm just like, just in case I got lucky. But I have 2.5 people, and that's it.
Here's why that's critically important. We were talking before the show on, you know,
Hypothetically speaking, because I don't disparage any agents, of course, but
the importance of being a good fiduciary and experience when you're working with buyers and sellers. And I think that comes into play because I've had situations when the market was a little different than it is right now, and we were getting 15 or 16 offers. Sometimes the best offer, pardon me, I take that back. The highest offer is not the best offer.
Correct.
And I've had multiple situations where I might have one offer that's a little bit higher. When I'm sitting down with my clients, I'll be like, hey, I know Fred. I'm making up a name. I know Fred and had transactions with Fred, and
he's going to get it done.
He might be the highest offer now, but when he does his inspection, he is going to get all that extra money back at the inspection
that too.
response.
You know those.
Yeah.
And then I know Cassandra, and she is delightful, and she's very collaborative, and it will be a very easy transaction. And I've had clients before take the offer that's not quite as high based on that. And I think our reputation precedes us. We're in a very reputation-oriented.
Absolutely, it does.
I've had
industry.
offers of mine accepted where I was lower because people wanted it.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
We talk about that a lot on this
Well,
podcast.
just knowing your.
We're not talking about you, Fred. I love Fred.
Yeah, but just knowing.
You're like, let me come up with a name.
It is a small.
Fred.
It's a small town. It's just a small town.
It is a
and,
small town.
I mean, it's true in life. As you show up, is your reputation wherever you go, and so we don't want to bring our buyers or sellers into a transaction where we already know the heartache, or we're going to be falling apart in 2 weeks because the situation. But it's not only what we've dealt with, like you said. People will come to you and tell you, I mean, the horrible story of what just happened. So people talk about it all the time of how the transactions go, good or bad. Again, it's just you should be representing your client to the best of your ability, and not bringing your own emotions into it. And our emotions are high a lot. And you just need to go home and go to bed and start all over tomorrow.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
This is like totally random, just because I know you. Because you're also a chaplain in the military.
Well, I was in religious affairs in the military
Religious affairs.
for a long time. Yeah.
That sounds very government.
Not
the way that's
formally a chaplain. Yeah.
not formally a chaplain. So, as a man of faith, I am myself. I'm curious. Do you talk about your faith with your clients? This is totally random.
Yeah, I've had situations where that's come up for sure. I mean, I've had situations at the grocery store where that comes up. So yeah, absolutely.
I think people are afraid of it, right? But I think I do it a lot. Every client I've ever worked with knows I'm in recovery. I'm like, hey, you're going to find out one way or the other, so I'm just going to tell you, right?
It's like trying to run for politics.
Yeah,
if you're going to pick me, this is coming out later.
Yeah, because I mean, in the world of of the internet, like as soon as I leave, if they know me, they already know, and then like if they don't know me, they're gonna look up your name. Like it's just the reality, and I'm like, hey, just so you know, I have a past, right? And it's never been an issue. Nobody's ever like not interviewed me and then not used me because of it. But I talk a lot about faith, and I think it's interesting because. I think I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about faith of like, hey, it's going to be okay. Yeah. Like how things work out and all this other stuff. And like, I just think there's a lot that you can talk within those realms without being secular, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of people like steer away from it. And like, I'm just very upfront with like, I am what I am, and you get what you get with me. And if I'm not your cup of tea, I'm not your cup of tea. I hid who I was as a person for a very long time. That's why I had struggled with like substance abuse. I don't do that anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. And like if I want to talk about those types of things, like I'm talking like fair housing or any kind of religion. But I think you can talk about spirituality and faith 100% across the board with people who aren't even. If that makes sense. And so I was just curious because I knew that like that was kind of up your alley because you had done that. And even so, like when you've done deployments, like you're over there in a weird kind of non-denominational / multi-denominational situation, right? Because you would go over there with rabbis and all types of stuff. So like I think you would be even more well-versed to handle that kind of situation. So I was just curious because as I'm sitting here, I was thinking about it, and I was like, hey, he does that, and I know that I do that. I don't know if you do that or don't do that. We've never discussed it. But I know that you're open about it, so I was just curious. So.
Well, I think part of it, whether it's Christianity or Judaism, or
Muslim or Hindu or anything.
These are just the two I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
But, the big two, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And part of what I do as a realtor is to love my neighbor as myself. I want to take care of my clients and represent them the way that I'd want somebody to represent my kids or my wife or my family. In the same sense, I want to do things in a fair and reasonable manner, not trying to take advantage of a seller or a buyer, and, you know, have that come through in that part of the transactions too, transaction also. So yeah.
Because you do have to lay your head at night on your pillow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, be the one that has to answer to yourself in the end. So that's
Yeah.
it. I speaking of that kind of thing, I just closed on a house with a lady who told me a story, and I thought it was pretty interesting. But she had been trying to sell her house for over a year, had a really bad experience with getting an offer with both agents, and everything really set her back or whatever. And so then she decided again one night, and she wrote out a prayer and put it on her nightstand, and in the morning read it again. And when she drove away, she saw the sign in the yard of a house I had sold, like 4 houses down. And she never goes out that way. She always goes the other way. She hired me, and the transaction was a really good one, but her like Google review on me was so sweet, and it was, she swears God led me to her.
That's awesome.
From what she'd been going through the whole time, and she wrote that, and she went the wrong way in the neighborhood and saw my sign. So not the same, but it was a really
That's
cool.
neat,
So
yeah.
I've got a picture of her note, her prayer.
Have you
She
guys ever
found me.
seen the, I don't know what saint it is, but there's like this little figurine of a saint
Oh yeah, the one that goes upside down.
that you
That's
can
what we
bury
should-
it in the yard to sell
We
your
need
house.
to do that.
No.
I have
You
not.
never, I have one in my
See,
office.
this is so
but that's
old.
a joke.
What is it? What is it? Oh my gosh, I don't know what it is, but that's so funny. We are in the market now where we need to start buying those again.
I'm about to bulk
It
up on
was
those.
huge. It was huge when I started.
I've had
people
clients
did
do it. I'm like, I'm not going to
darn.
bury a piece of
Raquel,
plastic
look
in your
it up.
front yard. I'm like,
Wow.
Well, find out what it's called.
you've never heard of that?
I have never heard of that.
Really?
no.
I'll show you the one I have in my office. It's like, I don't even
It's
know
a-
what
it's
saint of home
Saint-
sales. Like, I don't even know who it is.
No, Raquel's gonna look it up, but
I am looking it up currently.
it's Saint Joseph. I don't know.
You
She'll
just
find
made
out.
that up. Like,
No,
Saint Joseph.
I don't know.
Saint
but you
Tommy
turn it upside down, and you bury it
in your front yard. or
in the front
backyard or
yard,
something.
and you're supposed to get an offer immediately. But you do it when you have been on the market for a while. Oh my gosh.
About to go
We
buy 5
yeah,
of
we got to
those.
go start that.
Okay, I got it. So you bury a St. Joseph statue
right.
upside down in the yard. It is a popular real estate folklore tradition believed to help sell a home quickly. So what you do, you get a statue, and I didn't know this part. So you get the statue, and then you put the statue in a cloth or a plastic bag to protect it from dirt. Choose a spot. It says place it near a for sale sign by the front walkway or in a spotted plant. Oh, potted. I can't read. In a potted plant if you have a condo.
So I currently have one on the market where
This
they
is whole Google,
where they
just
did
go
it,
Google.
and they didn't follow the instructions or it don't work. I don't know.
They already
because
did
it's-
it?
Wow.
Yeah, it's sitting.
This was
house
done
is
all the
sitting.
time in 2009, 10, 11, 12,
I have
13.
never heard of that. That's hysterical.
It's
I
wild.
can, yeah, that shows you how old it
I
really
think
truly
Brenda
is.
just did it.
Brenda does it
Yeah,
all the
Brenda
time.
just
Brenda
did it like
does
a
it.
couple months ago.
In
Yeah.
Judaism, they've got something that holds a prayer scroll called a mezuzah that goes up on the front door.
Right.
I wonder if that's going to be my
The next
new
one?
Jewish version of burying the
Yeah.
plastic person in the yard and see if that helps sales. So, yeah.
But like,
can't
here's the
believe-
thing: like, what if I'm not Catholic? Does this thing still
Yeah.
work? You know, like,
No,
I,
yeah,
I,
people
I
are
was
talking
raised
about that.
Baptist. Does this work for me? I don't know.
They're
Wow.
talking about like mixed reviews because some people aren't religious. But I'm wondering,
What's
do
the
they
Yelp review
dig
on
it
St.
back
Joseph?
up or keep it in the yard?
I don't remember anybody digging it back up. Job's done. Come back out. Move on to the next
There
house.
is a thing, you know, this is one that people take for granted. We're like all over the place. I love this. I remember from real estate school, like, I think it was like, man, you'd have to spot check this one. I think you're not allowed to actually bury your pets in the yard, but like people do it all the time. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
I've sold houses with my pet in the backyard. Sorry.
Was it on your disclosure?
Yeah.
I don't think it's
not
allowed.
a
Maybe
que-
it's
it's
not
not a
allowed in
question.
Marion County.
My question: did it help sell your house
Yeah.
quicker?
Yeah,
bury it
right.
upside down?
I gotta go
The
bury my
dog.
cat for a minute.
I can go have a talk with
Rest in
Luna.
peace, Daisy.
Like, I gotta sell some houses. That's a thing,
Go to
though.
the vet.
Like you're
No.
not you're not allowed to like bury your pets. I think in the yard in the city limit. I don't know. It's a thing.
And who's
I'm from
gonna
Martinsville.
know?
I guess
Who's
what you
gonna
do. Man.
know? Just that random rock in the backyard. That's what it
It
is.
says here lays spot.
You
yeah.
don't put a word on
What do
it. You
mean?
just put a rock on top of it so the animals don't get dug back up.
I've done it. I've seen people do it, and they're like, "Oh, is that where the dog's buried?" I was like, "No, that's just a memorial stone." Like, I don't know, man. I don't know
Wow.
if it's in there or not.
Well,
I
I
don't know,
will.
it's just
Sorry,
stupid
my
stuff.
my best friend from the age of 18 bought my house that I sold most recently. She called me about probably 3 months ago.
It's like I was thinking about
Did
putting
you
in a.
bury? And she had the name of the cat and all that stuff. Did you bury Chloe in the backyard? And I'm like, why? And she goes, because somebody just dug it up and there's a bunch of bones in the backyard. And I'm like, yeah, I
That's
did.
so messed
I'm
up.
sorry. I didn't even tell her. I actually didn't think about it, but yeah. So she's like, did you bury a cat in the backyard?
I mean, that's what people do. Well, these days there's like a whole business around. I mean, you know, you go get it put into freaking marble or something at the VCA and charge you $10,000 or whatever. That's the business I need to be in. Is those.
Or pet ashes?
Yeah,
In the urn.
Trying to get into
Yeah.
a necklace or something.
You wouldn't even know what it is. It could be sand, and you're like, oh, this is, you know, Luna. I keep talking about Luna. Like, no,
I have a cat named Luna.
I have a dog named Luna.
Yeah.
She's a good dog. She's stupid, but she's a good dog. Anyways,
golden
totally random. Anyway, so I don't know how we got off onto that. That's what happens.
Everybody
when you have
needs to
ADD.
start burying their St. Joseph's because the houses are not selling. Let's talk about that.
Houses,
Yes.
houses are sitting. So this is my anecdotal personal experience over. Like I saw the market dwindling significantly. I saw
We
a
said it the
slight
second
uptick.
week of June.
Yep, I saw a slight uptick for the past 2 weeks. Last week was crickets on showings, like absolute crickets. I did get one under contract. In the amount of third showings I'm getting.
Yes,
Not
very
second
much.
showings, third
yes,
showings.
Yes, and you know what makes me sad is Broker Bay does not have that on there anymore. So you have to pay attention when you're
I don't
having
even
showings
think
come through.
agents would even think to do
No, it
it.
used to be when we had showing time, you could click, is this a second showing?
Yeah.
And I liked clicking that to let people know, clean
We're
the house up
backing
a
it.
little
we're
bit
interested.
more.
Yeah.
We're interested, do some due diligence here because I've noticed when I have agents that have shown it the second time, when I call, I guess this is from being around for a little longer, and I've called them like, oh, is this your second showing? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, I'm just because you showed it before. Yeah, it was a different buyer. They get kind of like, you
They
know,
don't understand why
they
you're
get,
calling.
yeah, I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be offensive. I'm
Yeah.
just curious if it's a second showing because you showed it twice. But and then they're like, no. Well, thank you so much for continuing to show my
Yeah.
house. I do appreciate it, but showing time used to say that you could do second showing, and
Mm-hmm.
I have seen the same thing, and I've had buyers who have to see it a third time.
And I like that there's that time again. I think the bigger question is, when will sellers and will agents adjust to the new sales cycle? Because they tend to be last, right? And so agents are going to drop prices because they don't know how to have the conversation of patience. And sellers, you know, they're talking to friends or they're looking in their neighborhood, and back in May it sold in a week.
Or
And
last year, they still say that. It
Yeah.
sold 2 days, and that was like May of 1925. I don't
it's
know.
going to be, I think it'll pick up in for like in the middle of September for another month and a half, and it'll be slow again. You know, I don't know. It's also midterms this year.
Right.
What will happen with that?
Yeah, because we had the same thing when the election happened. The last November of elections, it just seemed like it slowed down because everybody was just kind of waiting to see
Which
what's
is
going
the
to happen.
opposite of what they historically said would happen, right? They would usually say with an election things pick up because people will see they either want to take advantage of the current situation because it's good, or they think the current situation is bad and they see hopefulness, right?
Right.
And so I don't, but like the past, I don't know, I'm not going to get political, but the past like 8 years has just been so outside of the norm anyways. I don't know what to expect with it, but I have seen an uptick. The bigger of houses on market, And I read, I had a client who's been sitting on the market, and he sent a thing of like people who had taken their house off the market and then relisted was like 14% of the inventory right now nationally. I don't, we will, over the next 3 months, we are going to be in a situation again where a reduction in price will not create a showing or an offer, and people will do it anyways. But I don't, what do you do? Because what ends up happening is other agents or other sellers do it out of a sense of urgency or lack of education. It's half one, it could be both. And then suddenly you are overpriced.
Right.
Because the people who you're now competition with are 30K below you because
They didn't.
Got all
There's a
these
sense of
comps. Yeah.
Didn't have the patience to wait.
Yeah.
The thing about the whole market is talking about being lonely as a team leader. I'm going to segue into being lonely. Is I have a lot of agents that'll come to me and say, I don't know what's going on. I'm not getting any showings. And I'm like, no, that's normal. That's what's happening right now. So there's a lot of agents out there, like you said, they're not on a team or they don't have anybody to talk to or just bounce off of like what's going on. But it gets back to if you have a listing that's sitting and you're not getting showings, you think you're the only one.
Yep.
There are ways to look it up. You can go on Broker Bay and look up the showing stats of the price point, the zip code, all of that kind of stuff, so you can get a feel for, is it me? Is it us? And then look at the average days on market, period, of what you should be expecting. But that should have been the conversation with the seller at the table is, here's what we're seeing, average days on market. So if I look at Carmel right now, there's 208 houses sitting on the market, and those average days on market right now is 83 sitting on the market. In Carmel. And so if you don't have that conversation up front, no wonder your seller is going to say, what are we doing 2 weeks in?
I just had a conversation over the weekend with somebody, or it was like end of last week, and they're like, hey, the house hasn't sold yet, why is it not selling? And like, I feel bad, I've got it co-listed with somebody, and it wasn't even on my radar to discuss what we should do, because we're not even close to it being an issue yet, because it's just days on market right now.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's a condo, which is another thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, we got to talk about the condo situation.
So condos are worse than everything else.
Yes.
So
and they're going to get a lot worse.
And there's been numerous changes this year. There was changes back on January 1st. There's changes that are about to happen again. Nobody really knows them
the
for the most
condo
part.
change just happened August 3rd.
August 3rd. So that was with the FHA and VA, right? And then the reserves for the HOA having 10% reserves was like January 1. And condos are going to struggle with financing. They just are. And so, I was talking about beforehand, like right now, condos are going to sit way longer, and it's harder to find a buyer for them. And honestly, condo prices are going to drop for the next couple of years, just out of sheer complexity and pain in the assery of the financing of it. But I also think that will pivot, and as a result, they'll become undervalued, and then there will be an increase in that market because they drop so much. That's my personal opinion on it. That's just kind
one
of
of the lenders that
but
I spoke to about the condo situation is that the deals are going to fall through very close to closing because of the time it takes to get all of the information. So as a listing agent, you must get all your information up front and be in touch with the HOA and have that budget and insurance information up front. But the one thing that they told me, which is even scarier, is we know how expensive these HOA fees are with condos, is they need to be at 10%, their budget, their insurance, and everything it's a 10% what they need to be at. If they're not
in reserves,
right.
Yeah.
If they're not, all those condo associations that are not at 10% to be able to sell are going to start a huge assessment, and so condo fees that are already bad are going to go up even higher.
And then you're going to have to pay that if you're the seller, most likely, to sell it, which will come out.
Or
of your
buyers
price.
are going to pay a big, huge assessment amount as well.
Yeah, but the buyers have leverage right now, so they'll make the sellers do it because you're
Right.
going to sit on the market.
Be ready to know as a seller, get that information up front so you can sell it, and as a buyer's agent, know that you have to get that information up front because the lender is going to be asking for it, and the faster you get it, the better you'll know. But if you my opinion, if you're looking at the condo, ask the agent if they've even got it.
We did one that it just closed last week, and it took 60 days to close. It was VA. Now it was for a different amount of reason or different reason. It had not been VA approved as a complex, and there was an option to get a VA waiver, which I'd never even heard of before, for the record. And we went through this massive process, and we did not know if it was closing until the week it closed.
Wow.
And like, you know, my seller's like, what's going on? And we're like, I don't know, you know, because like it would have to go to the VA. And then you like getting through to the VA as somebody who used to work there, the specific department, specific person to get the information is going to be impossible. Or it was also through a massive lender, which I'm grateful for them because I don't think anybody else could have got it done. But the odds that I'm going to be able to talk to the underwriter on a massive call center is almost
Well, that's the sad
gonna
thing.
happen.
The VA loans, a lot of people will not even want to deal with them. Just
that's
because,
lack of education.
yeah,
It's sheer
yeah.
stupidity.
So, anyway.
Because they think I don't know. There's FHA and VA gets such a bad stigma, and I think it's stupid. It's just lack of education. I really just don't think they're that big of a deal. But the condo stuff, right? Like you sell a bunch of condos, right? We were talking about it. I mean, you do too. And I mean, some of the stuff I've struggled to sell the most in the past 2 years is condos, which is. Like if you had a townhome or a condo, like I think I'd rather have a condo than a townhome for some reason. That's just me and how I live. But mainly townhomes are just weird because they're like 3 stories and there's like a little bit of living each floor versus a condo is just like, it just feels like a big apartment you own, I guess. I don't know, man. But townhomes aren't having the problem, just condos. So I don't know.
Which is weird because, like in Carmel, because we were talking about one specific complex that, you've got a listing in right now, and I sell a lot of. It's a great opportunity to get into a great city for a much
crazy low price.
Lower price, yeah. So I think,
Especially getting into the school system.
oh yeah, Carmel's one of the top 10 school systems in Indiana, and it's a great opportunity. And even like my mom lived in a condo complex for years, and so she was single mother, didn't want to have to maintain and worry about replacing a roof or mowing grass or whatever. And it's great opportunity for older people or for younger people that don't want to put a lot of time into yard work
Have
and
an
exterior
active
maintenance
life or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was gone on my trip, all I could think about was like, well, not all I could think about, but I'm like, man,
Gotta
I
cut
hope
the
it's
grass.
not right. Yeah, I'm gonna go home and have to cut the grass, dude.
Yep.
I don't know. It'll be really interesting. I'm just curious if I bet most agents don't even know about this stuff because not everybody sells condos. And if you do, how often? I mean, I sell a decent amount of condos, and like, I'm not a downtown agent, so to speak, when it comes to that. I think a downtown agent would but I sell a lot of suburb condos. I don't know. I sell 4 a year, which I think is probably a lot, quite honestly.
Yeah, downtowns are very difficult. I mean, they can be 700, 800 a month.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at that, I remember the first time I sold a condo, it was in a floodplain. And, when you're trying to do a comp for a price, right, you're going to have to go look in your neighborhood to find it out. But if you go outside of an area and you go that 1 mile, you could move into a condo complex that has the 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 5, the same square footage, everything, but it's not in a floodplain. That changes that price so much because people have to pay $200,000 a year. Their payment's so much higher, so it really hurts the value. And even if it's the HOA fee that's $700 versus $300, those all come into play of its value of what it's worth. And speaking of floodplains, is the other thing we're talking about is, we just all went through all of the, not specifically with a home, but watching people that weren't even in floodplains flood.
Oh yeah.
That's one thing agents really need to start looking at too, is understanding how to know if it's in a floodplain and all of that. Because if you're showing a house and you don't know it's in a floodplain because you didn't look into that, so it's kind of come up more and more with agents of like, oh, how do you even tell if it's in a floodplain? So there's some education there. Some agents
where to
really
look it
need to
up.
start
Here's
looking
the
into.
question.
Well, circling back around to experience, one of the reasons why it's important to have an experienced agent representing you as a buyer is they're going to do the due diligence of doing that. You know, the bar, I hate to say it, but the bar to be licensed as a real estate agent is pretty low.
Yeah.
And so having an experienced agent that knows all of that and that can give you good counsel as your fiduciary is pretty critically important.
I think the bar should be higher on our continuing education.
Yes.
Right? Because, you know, people, it's not just that it's a low bar to get in, there's an even lower bar to improve, right? And I just don't know how you fix that to a certain extent besides doing that. With the flood thing that happened here and everybody that was impacted, you know, we basically just had a 100-year flood. Does that-
1,000, they said.
Yeah, so does that so it's like, do insurance rates go down now because it's less likely? No, they're going to go up because we have to pay out all this stuff.
We talked about whether or not the FEMA map's going to change because of all the homes that flooded that have never flooded. Did they just become something where FEMA's going to come in and go, let's change the flood maps?
No idea.
So it's just something to be very cognizant of if you're looking for homes for people, of whether or not it's in a floodplain. You'll find out immediately after you make the offer, and their insurance is going to be due because the lender's going to
FEMA
call
insurance.
for it. But, you know, the list agent needs to be putting that out there that it is. I don't know how many times I have pulled up a listing and the list agent did not put that it was in a floodplain because a seller, you know, they're going to check it on the seller's disclosures, but, you know, there's just a lot of due diligence to
It
do.
doesn't change your insurance that much, you know, if you are in a floodplain. But we closed on a house, we sold one, and 2 weeks later it was flooded.
Wow.
Yeah, and like the seller feels so bad. You know, I mean, what are you going to do with that?
Right.
You know.
Well, people have lived in those floodplains for 40 years. You hear all the stories we've been hearing, and they're like,
it got high, but you know, it's never made it.
I mean, the amount of times my daughter's best friend in school growing up here, we would have to go help that family like every 3 years when the flood came in Northwood. And I'm just like, I don't know that I could stay there. I just couldn't go through that over and over again. But they love the neighborhood, they love the neighbors, they love everything. So I feel sorry, and I'm very, you know, sorry for what everybody's going through around here. It's been a lot. It's still a lot. People are not going to recover for a long time.
Right.
And we talk all about the residential, but you were talking before we got on about the commercial with like your truck and the guy who was a mechanic, and you know, he's just an older guy who works on cars and has a decent, you know, like somebody said. Is that Shelly?
No, it's not me.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
You're good. Oh, you got
It's
business.
You can turn this off. Yeah, my truck was at a shop in Noblesville called Sunshine Automotive, and the owner, George, there is a great guy. He's been in business for decades, and we went to pick my truck up one night, and all of the cars in his parking lot were like under so much water you could just see the roofs popping out. Luckily, mine was one of the ones he was able to move out of the way, but this is a guy that's been operating a business for decades with integrity and doing a great job for the community, and now he's got a building and he doesn't even know if he can recover at this point.
And the weird thing about it too is like, it's not just like, hey, you can't recover the building. He has a house, family, like all these things, and he will be able to produce no income.
Bingo.
And so it's not just the loss, like there's also loss of income that comes into play with this, of like, even if, like, how do you sustain to get through the initial loss, right? I mean,
And the
there's just so
emotional,
much.
you know, of coming in and seeing everything that you worked decades so hard for, you know, waterlogged, and this isn't covered, that's not covered. It can kind of suck the life out
And
of
what
you.
he enjoys doing, he can
Oh,
no
yeah.
longer do.
Yeah.
Well, Martin Marietta, all of the, you know, people that lost their jobs there too for how long?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine I don't know how deep that quarry is, but it's going to take them forever to empty that if they can at all, right? And that's what we're talking about. What do they pump it back into the White River? Or, I mean, act of God, how does insurance cover that thing?
My solution is build a bunch of houses around
That's
it.
what I
It's
was
waterfront property, man.
That's what I said too.
Yeah.
Dig a hole somewhere else, guys.
But
Yeah.
then I have
We
a
still
good,
got rock beneath us.
I have a good friend who is in the business where they need that quarry. That quarry does a lot of building materials for the area. So that's a whole nother question of the building process of losing all of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure IMI and Reith Riley will be more than willing to to help carry the load but the employees, like, I wonder if these other companies, because it was such a kind of a tragic situation, like, hey, we'll help, like, we'll bring on your guys as temporary until
we can
that
absorb.
gets set. I don't know. All right, we'll get into stats real quick. I mean, we just kind of wax and wane all over the place with the current market, but so for me, like I did say, it was a little bit slower week as far as specifically showings, I would say. We do have some open houses going, and there has been good traffic at open houses. I will say that because I pay attention to that with our team. Fishers, there's 297 on the market, which is, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Wow.
297. I mean, I can't remember the last time we were up that high. 36 went on the market last week. 6 of them pended within 7 days, so 30 are still active. 26 total pended last week, so a net gain of 10 in inventory. Average days on market is 41. The median is 12. So like I said, you're selling in 2 weeks or you're selling in 2 months. But of the active houses on market, the average is about 57. Sorry, I can't read my handwriting. Noblesville, I have 271 on the market. Anywhere from $35,000 to $1.4 million. I can't tell you last time I saw a $35,000 house go on the market in Hamilton County. So I didn't really look at it that much because I was trying to get the stats done. But 36 went on the market last week, 7 pended, so 29 are still active. 25 actually pended last week. So regardless of how long they've been on the market. So I did pick up 11 in inventory in Noblesville. Average days on market there is 57 with a median of 13. But if you're just active out there, the average is 64. So 2 weeks or 2 months, but even that's not accurate, right? So the median is accurate for about the 2 weeks, but when you're talking about 57 average, it's really not 2 months. It's 2 weeks or 3 months, because that's how you would get down into that number, right? And when do agents start educating their sellers better? And the worst part is, when we come through this kind of like third and fourth quarter. And like, who knows if the spring market starts in January like it did last year, it'll be multiple offers again. And so what happens is there's this constant dichotomy of like, you screwed us over, so we want the leverage now. And like, I just don't know when we ever get back to a little bit of a middle ground.
So buyers right now, the conversation is, go make an offer, even if it's been on the market for 10 days.
Yeah.
Make an offer because
You'll figure it out.
It's not like you have to just give them list price. If it's in 60 days on the market or whatever, make an offer, because it seems like we lost that mentality of making offers. When I was doing it a while ago, when I first started, you never gave list price. I mean, we didn't make offers in the first day like we do today in some things, but we never made list price, ever. It was just not something you did. So now I think it's still ingrained with everybody. Oh, they want list because it's been on the market for 2 weeks. They're not going to take less. Start the conversation because sellers are out there wanting an offer right now, and buyers are just sitting back. And I know a lot of my buyers' conversation is, well, I'll just wait and see what they do. Like, but you like the house. Well, I just want to see what they're going to do. Well,
they could sell it.
Let's make
You could lose it.
Yeah,
Somebody else could
exactly.
buy it.
It's kind of interesting. So Carmel 22 hit the market, which was not very many, and 8 pended in the 23 total pended. So we lost inventory. The current 8 days that they sold, the 8 that pended in the 7 days, 31 was the average days on market. 143 have sold in the past 30 days with the average days on market of 30. So we're seeing, if you're selling, 30 days on market, but the current actives, there's 208, is 83 days on market. So you either sell in 30 days or you sit for 90 days at least.
Wow.
Because when we look at average, that means at least, right?
Yeah.
So we could be selling or not selling in 100 days, because that's what average means. Westfield, 34 hit the market. 15 of those 34 did pend, but a total of 35 pended, so lost 1 in inventory as well. But the average days on market for the past 7 days was 16 in Westfield. So those ones that sell quick was 16. 123 have sold in the past 30 days with the average days of 28. But those sitting, there's 292 active in Westfield, which is a really high number compared to the past months. Their average days on market is 75. Zionsville 12 hit the market, only one pended. Now Zionsville usually has more sales faster, but only one pended, and
That's
a total
crazy.
of 4 pended out of 12 total. Average days on market in Zionsville is 37 for the past 7 days. For the past 30 days, 56 total sold with an average days of 45. So Zionsville, we used to talk so funny about this. I think is so weird that Zionsville is like, get a house on the market, you'll sell it. We need inventory. We need inventory. Zionsville's completely done a 180, and there's 100 still sitting on the market right now that are active with an average days of 50. So that one is surprising to me how Zionsville's kind of taken a slower turn.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it turns out in the next couple of weeks. It's, I feel like Labor Day is kind of like
Be a
like
slow time.
break,
Yeah.
So we'll see. If anybody want to get a hold of you, Brian, how would they do it?
Best way would be to call me at 317-797-3580, or you can visit our team website at wignallgrouprealty.com.
Well, I want to have you back on because I'd like to just talk about like team stuff. I love doing that.
Absolutely.
I
I love
think
that.
it's really fun. Yeah. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker. My number is 317-649-5122.
And I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group, 317-201-2601.